The Gothic 1 remake just came out and I've been putting it through its paces on the Steam Deck, and let me tell you, if you clicked on this video hoping I have some magic settings combination that make it work, I'm sorry, I don't. The short version is that it's just not great on the Steam Deck, but let me walk you through what I tested so you know exactly what you're dealing with. First, the very basics. The game has full controller support, it launches fine on the Steam Deck, and the UI is readable on the small screen, and it looks genuinely good. This is a faithful remake of a classic RPG, and I think the world has a lot of character, and I want to give it that credit before getting into the performance side, because the game itself isn't the problem here. The problem is Unreal Engine 5 on the Steam Deck. And look, this isn't the first time we've had this conversation. Unreal Engine 5 games on handheld hardware have been inconsistent at best since the engine started shipping in games, and the Gothic Remake is unfortunately one of the worst examples we've seen. On the lowest possible settings, you cannot hold a consistent 30 FPS. That's not on medium, that's not with a few settings turned up, that's everything bottomed out, and I still can't get there. Battery life is also not great at all. This is one of the first 2026 games where battery life is under 2 hours and 50 minutes on the OLED. And I know my OLED's battery life is probably not what it used to be, but most of the other games at least hit 2 hours and 30 minutes. This one, not really. Now the starting area will somewhat perform at around 30 to 40 FPS. You can even get above 40 in some places, but the more you play, the more it will struggle, and you're mostly looking at the low 20s, not even the low 30s. Now the game gives you 3 upscaling options: TSR, XeSS and FSR, and I tested all of them so you can see the difference. I think out of all of the 3, TSR comes out on top, which isn't surprising since it's the native Unreal Engine 5 upscaler and it tends to have a natural advantage in these games. But even TSR isn't clean. You get smearing and ghosting on moving elements, and anything with fast camera movement looks soft and smudged. XeSS has the same issue. XeSS always looks pretty smudged. It has similar severity with all these issues compared to TSR. Now FSR goes in a completely different direction. It's over sharpened and you end up with fuzziness and shimmering across the image. So there isn't really a best option between the 3. You're picking which kind of bad you can live with, and none of them actually solve the framerate problem underneath. I also went a step further and I injected FSR 4, and I also have OptiScaler enabled, which is something I do when the built-in options aren't cutting it. And FSR 4 does look slightly better than FSR 3, a bit less aggressive on the sharpening, but it's still got that smudged look to it, and it doesn't really help with performance in any meaningful way. So even going outside what the game offers natively, it doesn't really get you anywhere useful. If you guys are enjoying this breakdown, consider following the SteamFlow curator page where I share every game I test on the Steam Deck and I let you know if it's worth a buy or not. Links will be in the description. The game also has FSR frame generation, and I want to be fair to it, it's not the worst frame gen implementation I've come across. In certain areas where the base frame rate is hovering around 30 or above that, it does take some of the edge off and make things feel a bit smoother, but that window is very narrow. The moment the base frame rate drops below 30, which happens regularly, FrameGen completely falls apart. And with FrameGen, you're gonna get heavy artifacting, stuttering, and of course input lag. And it's a kind of visual mess that just makes things worse, and you'd be better off running without it. FrameGen needs a stable base to work from, and that's usually above 60 FPS, and Gothic Remake on the Steam Deck just can't reach those numbers ever. So I don't have recommended settings in this video. I genuinely can't point you to a combination that gives you a good experience because one doesn't exist right now. If you're a Gothic fan and you're tempted, I would wait. I would not buy this if the Steam Deck is your only device, because the game will need some serious work if it's gonna run on the Steam Deck, and I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. That's gonna be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, consider leaving a like. If you're into Steam, Steam Deck, and gaming handhelds in general, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.